I want to make sure everything's working here. All right. Good evening. This is Ruben Galindo. I'm a real estate agent, real estate investor out of San Antonio, Texas. I wanted to just talk just briefly about a move-in or a real estate investing strategy. I call it the move-in flip strategy. So for this is a real estate content. So if you like to listen in about real estate, want to learn a little bit more, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with those that you believe will benefit from it. So the move-in flip strategy, as I call it, is a strategy where you acquire a property and you live in it for a couple of years and then you turn around and sell it. So let's I'm going to go over just quickly a few steps on how you can do that and how you can benefit from that. First of all is you got to acquire a property at a discount or with already instant equity. And I personally have done it. I've helped out other investors that have done it as well. And one of those ways is through a foreclosure. The one I did was a HUD foreclosure, and also the one of my clients did, it was also a HUD foreclosure. Now, with this type of property, my experience has been, or I guess I should say the properties that I target are the ones that require very little renovations or repairs, mainly cosmetic type of repairs or renovations. I've had to maybe patch a wall, repaint the walls, remove old carpet, put new flooring. Typically it's vinyl plank, and maybe put some new appliances in there. Now, with that being said, one of the benefits of actually moving into this property is, well, you buy it at a discount to begin with, and should take minimal amount of money to get it renovated and get it in a position where you can move into it. And the loan product that I usually recommend is a low 5% down conventional loan. Now, that's why it's important, at least I believe, I'm not a lender, but the experience that I've had is as long as that property has very little or minimal work, mainly cosmetic, as long as the property appraises in its as-is condition, then you should be okay. The lender should approve that loan. I've had mine approved. I've had my clients approved. And so we haven't had any issues there. Now, if you buy a property that needs a full gut, full renovation, that obviously may be a different situation. So if once you acquire that property, you got to get in there, get moved in, go ahead and start that time clock. And we'll get to it here in just a second, why that's important. So you get in this home, and there's two different things that you can do. If you're in a position where you can house hack, then obviously that would be a preferred method, because now you have renters, someone else paying your mortgage payment. Again, this is your primary home. So that actually is the preferred method, is you get somebody in there to help you make the majority, if not all, of that mortgage payment. Or if you're not in a position where you can house hack, or you choose not to do that, then you live in it for a couple years. Here is the benefit of living in it after a couple years. Again, when you acquire this property, like I'm sure many of you have already heard, or if you haven't, is usually it's you make your money going into the deal. That's a common phrase, and that is very, very true. In this type of situation, the property that I'm currently about to close on, I'm walking into it with approximately $63,000 in equity. And one of the clients that I helped out, they walked in with about approximately $50,000 in equity. So once you buy that, once you acquire that property with that much equity and you live in it for a couple of years, at that point, there's a good likelihood or possibility that that property probably has appraised a little bit. But even if it didn't appraise, even if it stayed at its current market value from the day that you acquired it, In my case, 60,000. In my client's case, 50,000. And you turn around 2 years later and sell it, then you're already 60,000 or 50,000 in equity right off the bat. Now, obviously, there's going to be some costs involved in closing on the sale of the home. Obviously, there's some costs involved there. So it's not going to be the full 50,000. It may not be the full 60,000 if the properties never go up. However, even with the expense of selling that home, you're still going to be ahead of the game. And here's the thing: if you walked into it with 5% down and your cosmetic repairs were minimal, then your cash on cash rate of return is going to be pretty high. So that is the benefit of that. Here's another added benefit. When it is your primary home and you're a single person, then your capital gains is tax-free currently with the current law. I'm not a CPA, so please be sure that you confirm that with your CPA. But the current tax law says that you can make up to $250,000 and it'll be completely capital gains tax-free if you're single. And it's up to $500,000 if you're married. So that's a real good thing as far as trying to build more capital. And that's really the biggest benefit right there, is that you're gaining capital. It's not an overnight, it's not a get rich quick scheme, but you will be able to gain several $1,000s with minimal investments. So your cash on cash rate of return will be pretty high. Some people, I haven't done it. I can't say that I have any plans on doing that, but I know I've heard and listened on other podcasts and where some people actually do it several times. And by the time they do it 4 or 5 times, they're able to buy their next home completely mortgage free, because every time they go through the process, they earn $30,000 or $40,000, and they keep building on that capital, and they keep building on that capital. Now, obviously, as we all know, that will be dependent on where you live, because properties, for example, in the West Coast, California, are extremely expensive. And as you go to different parts of the country, the cost of the properties are obviously different. So that is a good way of building capital in a fairly quick manner. In my case, if I'm able to make, like I said, I walked into it at $63,000. If I'm able to sell even at that current equity mark in 2 years, and it cost me, say, $15,000, or let's just say $20,000 to sell that home, I'm still $40,000 plus ahead of the game. So that's a great way of making an extra $40,000 in 2 years. And if you only have to put 5% down on the house, your cash on cash rate of return is going to be pretty high. So just wanted to share that. I'm kind of curious if anybody's ever done that before, how it's worked out. I'm also curious if you know of anyone, or you personally have ever done it several times up until the point where you've been able to pay cash for a house. I'm kind of curious about that. I'm also curious to know if anybody has ever encountered any problems with that strategy. Is there something I'm not thinking about? Is there something that I'm leaving out? What's been your experience? Or do you know anyone else that have been through that and they've had some problems? So I'm kind of curious to know if there's anything out there that I haven't covered or I haven't thought of. But I do believe this is a great strategy. It's I know I got a client in the middle of it. I'm in the middle of it. I've done it once before, not fully. Let me correct that. I haven't completed the first time quite yet. My plan is to sell this coming summer. At that point, I'll be able to complete that move and flip strategy. But I will say that when I first got into that property, that was not necessarily my intent. However, once I learned a little bit more about real estate investing and I learned about that strategy, I'm in a position that I can go ahead and take advantage of that strategy, and that's what I plan on doing. So anyhow, if anybody else has any questions, please be sure to put your questions in the comment. If you got any other advice or any experiences you've had, please comment below. If you found any value in this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Want to make sure that we can share as much real estate investing content as we can. Thank you for your time and happy investing.